Unemployment is the government's fault. Wants to bring the system to a crash.
Welcome to the Great White North Report. Been looking around and this video keeps popping up even though it was done on January 13th. It's still popping up on Yahoo. And it's by Elisabetta Bianchini. Never heard of her before, never seen any of her articles before, but she does journalism for Yahoo News, which is one of the most fake news organizations I've ever heard in my life. And she claims that 4 years too fucking late, Canadians react to Trump impeachment and video message denouncing violence. So I'm gathering from what I've seen from her other articles that she's not a Trump supporter, and she's saying that all Canadians are reacting in the same way she is. I hate to tell you this, Elisabetta, but in the last couple of places I worked, and there's a lot of Trump supporters where I work, and we're all Canadians. Though I must admit, it's usually guys who support Trump, but women don't. And I know a lot of women watch CNN, which plays a lot of false narratives. So she's talking about Canadians reacting to Donald Trump becoming the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. First of all, he hasn't been impeached twice. His impeachment went through the House of Representatives, but it never passed the Senate. So that means he's not impeached. If he's impeached, that means he had to leave office. There's a big difference there, Elisabetta. I'm not sure if you understand. Now they're trying to impeach him again, and they did pass through the House of Representatives. I think at like 54%, which is hardly a ringing majority. This time the first impeachment trial was a sham. It was utterly ridiculous and such a waste of time, and it happened at the same time that the CCP virus was spreading rapidly across the world. Democrats were too worried about their own witch hunt. Now this time they're trying to get him for incitement of insurrection, which passed 232 to 197 in advance of Trump leaving office on January 20th, with Joe Biden being sworn as the next president. 232 to 197, like I said, it's like 54%. It's not exactly a huge number. Yahoo News has a lot of people saying, yes, remove him and bar his ability to run. He won't run again in 2024. He'd be getting close to his 80s by that time. So no, I don't agree with the decision. I listened to his full speech, and he never said once, go wreck the Capitol. In fact, while he was talking to his crowds of supporters, a couple of thousand idiots, they were already wrecking the Capitol. Some who were true Trump supporters, or some who just happened to be the far-right nuts who wouldn't have cared less. And you had a couple of leftists in that crowd too. People who don't support Trump, but just wanted to cause trouble. Remember that. Now, according to her, the next step would be the Senate trial, which could result in Trump's removal from office. Well, on January 13th, you cannot rush a trial like that. It's unlikely to occur with only 7 days left, and now there's only 2 days left. They're not going to do it. Complete waste of time, and they couldn't rush a trial like that. In return, it'd be an unfair trial and be dismissed. So they've tried to impeach him twice, but he's never actually been impeached. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, says no one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. She said at the signing ceremony. Oh, I remember the last time she did it. She had pens. She signed part of her name and gave a pen out to each person. Like it was a big deal. Like it was such a joyous occasion. She's such a hypocrite. The reason why they're trying to impeach Trump this time is because a lot of those Democrats got Hershey squirts in their boxers because they were afraid that mob would have got their hands on them, and then who knows what would have happened. That's what they're afraid of because they're very delusional about how important they are to the United States of America. Nancy Pelosi spent too much time during the lockdowns sitting in her $1 million mansion eating gourmet ice cream. Now you see here all the comments. I actually took a look at these people, see what they're like on their Twitter handles there. They must be from Toronto. Now, Trump has said repeatedly over the past that he condemns mob violence. Funny, many Democrats did not condemn the BLM riots. They called them peaceful protesters when they were far from it. And the same with the Antifa riots in Portland. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence or could ever respect law enforcement. Trump's right on that. He's been very vocal about his support for law enforcement agencies. In fact, the New York Police Department endorsed them. Jim Acosta, this guy gets roasted every time by Kayleigh McEnany at the White House brief. He's a terrible reporter, doesn't do his homework. He's not exactly the voice of reason. And then Jim Acosta and CNN, what they do, they had this idiot. They interviewed this guy on their show. And it turns out that this guy is a radical BLM activist, and he was arrested by feds for his role in the Capitol debacle. And it's true, he was on CNN. He claimed that he was just there to report the events. And CNN bought into it and had him on their show. And then he gets arrested. John Sullivan was taken into custody in Provo Friday, over a week after he shared video of himself inside the Capitol as protesters breached security. He's been charged in federal court with one count of knowingly entering and remaining in a restricted grounds building or grounds of the lawful authority, one count of violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, one count of interfering with law enforcement engaged in the lawful performance of their official duties, incident to and during the commission of civil disorder. That's according to Fox News, and it's according to a lot of other news agencies, if you care to look for them. Like guys like Tim Pool, Ben Shapiro on the Daily Wire, and Glenn Beck. He was also charged with rioting and criminal mischief last summer. He was also charged over a BLM Utah riot where a person was shot. So this guy is not... Look at this guy. He looks spaced out. And you know, he covers Antifa and just released a book about them. Tim Pool, he used to cover them. So let's go back to Trump. Now this is Breitbart, so it's pretty conservative. But if you look at Trump's presidency, I've never seen a president get hammered so much by the press right from day one. Go look online, do some actual journalism, Elisabetta, and go to the Project Veritas. Project Veritas actually had inside access to CNN's morning briefs, and they basically caught them, the head of CNN, talking about what direction they're gonna take with Trump during the election cycle. So they've been milking Trump for all it's worth, and they've been bashing him constantly just to get headlines. Elisabetta's article doesn't really go into too much details as to why these 4 years have been too late for Trump's impeachment. So let's take a look at Trump's major achievements. Now I'm going on record as saying that Trump's policy gets a B grade by me. My honest assessment of Trump's policies is a B grade, and that could jump up to an A if certain things go well. On rhetoric, Trump gets an E, only because Trump cannot contain himself on Twitter. When Trump sticks to the speech that's given to him, he does really well. He knows how to play a crowd. But it's what he does when he gets on Twitter that he does his most damage to his image and to the United States government. And that's what people focus on more, other than his actual policies, which are actually really good. Now, he had the fastest growing economy in history, lowest unemployment in 50 years, especially with black, Latinos, and Asian Americans. The U.S. smashed the so-called Islamic State and killed its leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Now, he did construct 400 miles of new and replacement border wall, enforced immigration law, which is, it's part of the law, ended family separation and stopped the migrant caravans, though I think there's a new one coming up right now. He tried a diplomatic opening with North Korea, which was probably a failure, but he had to try something new. The biggest one would be his peace in the Middle East. Moved the embassy to Jerusalem and recognized Israel's sovereignty in Golan Heights. Ended the Iran deal. Killed General Soleimani. Forged peace between Israel and Arab states. Well, not all the Arab states, 4 of them. And kept the United States out of war. He didn't start any new wars. People thought he'd be a warmonger. Never started a new war. Pulled troops out, not as many as he wanted to, but he did pull more troops out of places like Afghanistan. Supreme Court and the record appointments, that'll be a lasting legacy for the next 30, 40 years for him. Helped black Americans, more black Americans voted for him this time around than they did in 2016. Created USMCA to replace NAFTA. I didn't like that one, but because I'm Canadian. That's not Trump's fault. He's doing it for the Americans. The fault lies with Trudeau. Didn't send a tough enough negotiator. Canada didn't negotiate very well. Trump stood up to China. I wish Trudeau would stand up to China. And he created a stronger military, which had been in decline during the Obama years. And he launched Operation Warp Speed to deliver a coronavirus vaccine, which came just after the election. So Elisabetta Bianchini, please give us your reasons why it's too late for Trump's impeachment. Next time, do better research. Anyway, any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys thought of the Trump years. Was it good or was it bad? It was definitely entertaining. And put your comments below in the section below. And until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.